Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans to have Jesus executed. So they bound him away and led him astray and handed him over to the governor, Pilate, the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, and he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and to the elders. And he said to them, I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood. And the elders and the chief priests answered, what does that have to do with us? It is your responsibility. So Jesus threw the money into the temple, and he left, and he went to hang himself. The chief priests and the elders took the money, and they said to each other, it is against the law to use this money and to put it into treasury, since it is blood money. So they decided to use the money to buy a potter's field, as a burial place for foreigners. And that is why it is still called the field of the blood to this day. That this was to fulfill what Jeremiah the prophet had prophesied. They took 30 pieces of silver on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field the Lord had commanded them. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus replied, you have said so. When he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answers. Pilate asked him, don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you? But Jesus made no reply, not even a single charge, and this amazed the governor. Now it was the governor's custom to release a prisoner that the crowd chose. At the time, they had a well-known prisoner by the name of Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked him, which one do you want me to release to you, Jesus the Barabbas, or the Jesus who is called the Messiah? For he knew it was out of self-interest that they handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him a message, do not have anything to do with this man, for I have suffered a great deal today in my dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. Which of the two do you want me to release to you? Asked the governor. Barabbas, he answered. What shall I do then to the Jesus who is called the Messiah? Pilate asked. They answered, crucify him. Why? What crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. But they shouted all the more, crucify him. And Pilate thought that he was not going anywhere. But as he foresaw an uproar, he took the water and he washed his hand, and he said in front of the crowd, I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility. And the people and the crowd answered, his blood be upon us and our children. And he released Jesus the Barabbas, to them, and he flogged Jesus and handed him over to be crucified. And the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium, and he gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and they twisted together a thorn of crown and placed it on his head. And they put a staff in his right hand. They knelt in front of him, and he mocked him. Hail, King of the Jews, they said. They spit on him, and they took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they put off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to be crucified. Amen.